I can't tell you what's going to happen in 5 years, but what I can tell you is our girls will be prepared for it. So they will have the skills, they'll have the attitudes and the approaches to be able to tackle any changes that come that way.
In this video, you'll meet James Whitehouse, who's the head of school at Elmwood School in Ottawa, Ontario. And in this video, you'll hear him explain why he thinks girls' education is more important than ever right now. You'll also hear him talk about the relationship between Elmwood and the city of Ottawa. And you'll also hear him explain why he always goes back to the school's values when he's talking about prospective students and families who want to join the community. I'm here with James Whitehouse, who's the head of school of Elmwood School in Ottawa, Ontario. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. So why don't you start by telling us 3 things that you love about your job?
Okay, number one, I get to be around young people all the time. That's why I came into teaching years ago, and that's what I still love today, is the spontaneity of young people and the joy they bring to communities. Another thing I love about the job is the community I'm in right now. The Elmwood community is very much like a family. We treat each other that way. We're a small group. And so everything we do is based on support and care for each other. So I love that. And lastly, it's the attitude of the students every day, their love of learning, their want to be together and be around each other. It makes it something really inspiring to come to every day, to be filled with that enthusiasm and that joy that is sometimes lost in young people today. It's really refreshing every day to come to work, and I love being around the kids.
And what drew you to an all-girls education specifically, and then ultimately to Elmwood?
Yeah, so interesting. I mean, I came from the UK 9 years ago without really any expectation of a job. At first, it was come to start to grow our family here. And I was drawn to Elmwood by its values and by a lot of what I'd heard from people who had either attended Elmwood or who had been connected there professionally. And the moment I walked in, there is something very special about Elmwood when you start interacting with the people that makes you feel like you're belonging to something. And the moment I walked in on that very first day when I met the head of school at the time, I knew this was a place I wanted to work because it reminded me of what schools, I always wanted schools to be, a place where people wanted to come to learn. They wanted to keep some of that innocence of youth about them that's maybe sometimes lost today. But most of all is that they had this huge respect for people and love of each other. And that was all given over to me in a matter of about half an hour. And from that moment, I knew I wanted to be at Elmwood. And then learning about all girls education, you really understand the advantage of all girls. It's such a special place to be. Girls are free from distractions. They're free from having to live up to anything that they don't need to. So they walk into school wanting to come and learn. In the classrooms, I always remember saying that I taught in a co-ed school before here, and I had to plan double because I was in an all-girls classroom. The girls take risks. They love the environment. They're not worried about having to perform to anybody else in the classroom. And there's no distractions. I do believe that girls mature quicker than boys. And so the connections in the classrooms academically, they make them quicker and they make far better progress. They're also, when it's just all girls, they take greater risks. They're free from some of the worries that they have when boys are around them. And I love boys. I mean, I love teaching boys too, but just the benefits I see in terms of confidence and risk-taking and leadership. Our girls get to lead in everything. They can be leaders in sports teams. They can be leaders in debate teams. They can be leaders in the classroom. They are the leaders in the school. And sometimes those positions are shared with boys, and sometimes girls don't get the opportunity to in a co-ed environment. So all of that, having a daughter myself as well, made me fall in love with all girls education and the benefits it brings to these girls as they go from very young to graduating and going out into the world.
And when you say you're seeing more risk-taking, a higher level of risk-taking in the girls that are at Elmwood, can you give an example of what you mean when you say that, about that? You know, what are some of those risks that you're seeing students take?
Yeah, it's pretty simple stuff to bigger stuff. So the simple stuff is in the classroom, just by taking a risk of answering a question or with raising a question themselves. Just from actual experience previously, there's a lot of very, very smart, bright, intelligent young women who would just sit back and allow others to take that lead, and take that risk. And it may be that the question they've answered isn't correct, but that's great because then they can learn from that. And I just noticed much more of that in an all-girls environment where they're enthusiastic about taking those jumps and those leaps. And the teachers in the school are so good at drawing it out of them that they're experts in girls learning. So they know how girls take risks and the kind of prompts that lead them to do that. But there's much bigger things as well, as like taking risks in leadership, going for that top leadership position in the school, taking a risk with setting up a conference, which might involve bringing in, I don't know, the Prime Minister's wife, for example, as a keynote speaker, which happened a few years ago. Our girls want to step out of the comfort zones that the school provide and really challenge themselves and challenge society in some cases. And it's great to see them blossom. You see girls coming into the school who maybe don't have those skills, and over the years, quite deliberately, we support the girls into being able to take risks, but becoming real leaders, which I think the world needs, to be frank. That the world really does need more of these incredible young women to take a lead in global affairs, politics, all of those things.
Yeah, exactly. On that note, I was going to ask what you think is unique about this moment that makes an all-girls education something that it should be on people's minds when they're looking at their school options for their little girl.
Yeah, female leadership. I've got to tell you, it's huge. Like the things that women do in leadership different from men. And again, I'm a male leader, so I'm aware of some of the weaknesses in that. And female leaders have weaknesses too, but just the empathy that they bring to situations, the ability to listen, the ability to collaborate, the ability to look for complex solutions rather than look for maybe simplistic solutions. Girls are wonderful at really going deep and having a complex look at problems rather than just trying to find what might be the quickest solution. And as I watch the girls today looking at the world, I just really hope that they're going to aspire to look at ways that they can change environmentally, politically, in terms of global affairs as well, legally, all those things that the world needs right now. The world needs a reset, a sense of stability. And seeing our girls every day, I just know that listening to them, I still teach history. So one of the things I love is listening to them debate and listening to them getting like a sense of balance and what should be right in the world. And I think that the world needs it. I really do believe that the world needs more strong female leaders leading the way. You look at the New Zealand examples out there, and she's just fabulous as a female role model, and we need more of them.
And you just mentioned having the Prime Minister's wife come in and speak to the school. What else is the relationship between Elmwood and the rest of the city of Ottawa? It's in Canada, certainly a very unique city.
Yeah, it's amazing. Being right in the capital is incredible because we have the opportunity to use all the resources locally to us. So government is just one example. But a lot of our parents who come here are connected to government positions, or they're connected to media and industry and tech. But being in the capital, the heart of the capital, we can't escape how close we are to politics and to history. And so our girls get the opportunities to go and look at the Supreme Court. They go and experience those things, meet with senators and have conversations with them. Obviously, with the rebuild that's going on in the current situation, sometimes they're not available, but we still have the connections through Zoom and those opportunities. So being in the capital is just a huge advantage. We're also surrounded by, and the school's located amongst embassies. So we use the diversity that embassies bring to the school is significant. So we have a lot of different perspectives and global viewpoints that come into school from our locale, which has many embassies in it. So that's something that the school's always had, and it's a really nice addition to the school.
And to go back to what you were saying about the staff and knowing the way that girls learn, how is the School of Elmwood set up around those strengths and weaknesses, or those unique traits of how girls learn and where their skills are?
Yeah, so I mean, if we go right back to like pedagogical basics, everybody's an individual, right? So I'm always hesitant to say there's like a distinct group. There's girls and boys, and girls only learn this way, boys only learn this way. That's not true. But girls certainly do have different characteristics, and there's certain skills that I would say that the environment is all about the way that the teacher sets up the environment, the way that a teacher establishes the classroom and the respect and the values of that classroom to help any student really thrive. And girls particularly thrive from having a good, strong relationship with each other and with teachers. So in terms of the building and the furniture and the rooms, I would actually say the most important thing is the connections that they make with each other and with the teacher. So the skill of the teacher in making girls feel safe and confident and comfortable and able to take risks. The skill of a teacher to accept that they're not always going to be right, that actually some of the points the girls bring up will be superior to what they have. The ability of a teacher to encourage risk-taking in the classroom, so girls challenge them, so girls challenge each other. I would say it's all about the environment that the teacher creates that is respectful, because that's one of our key values is respect, but it's also encouraging things like innovation and collaboration that girls love to do when they're in that safe space of learning. For me, school should be doing that anyway. And I think sometimes we lose that in education, or it's got lost somewhere along the lines, where kids don't want to take these risks, or they don't think learning is as cool as it should be. Whereas what I love about teachers here is, and kids here, is that learning is the core of everything, but it's all built around community. As a family, we don't want anyone not to be comfortable in our environment. And when people are comfortable and girls are comfortable, they'll take risks, their learning will take off. And they'll go to places they didn't know they could, which as a teacher is wonderful to see. I was just in a classroom teaching history right now, and we were debating global politics. And some of the conversations and the intricacy of the language that the girls were using was mind-blowing. How did that happen? Well, that's years of them feeling that that's what they should do and what they can do. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a culture in a school where people can really expand their mind and their thinking and think. Like, thinking is really important. It's not just about taking information in and repeating it. It's about stepping out and thinking for yourself and coming up with new ideas. And I think that's what this school does best. It creates a culture of learning that is about critical thinking and risk-taking and, all of those things, innovation, responsibility, integrity. All of those things are so important in a classroom. And you can't just say it and hope it's going to happen. You have to live it every day so it becomes part of the culture.
And going off that it doesn't happen just overnight, is that something that you see in your students beginning in JK and going all the way through grade 12? Or is there specific targeted years that draw students for different reasons?
So, strategically as a school, we have clear scope and sequences for how we develop leaderships and confidence and risk-taking and like kind of the whole girl, which is what we believe in, is developing the whole girl. That's our vision, whole girl, whole world. So that's strategic. But what I do see is that my daughter's in grade 2 here. And so I've already seen in the years she's been here, like just how she's developing her leadership, how she's developing her confidence, how she's challenging her older brother in inappropriate ways, in respectful ways. And as you watch girls move throughout the school, you just see them each year standing a little bit taller, becoming a little bit more confident, talking a little bit more in public spaces, developing more deliberate, respectful actions, being good in any scenario or situation you put them into, and becoming leaders. The big thing for me is that our girls develop strong leadership skills. So when they enter the post-secondary, or sorry, that's an English term, they enter the world beyond high school here, that they have all those skills to thrive and really take off at university, which we see happen. Our girls go into 50% go into STEM, and they go into course like engineering, where they may be the only girl in the engineering course at university, and they're thriving there because they're used to taking the lead, they're used to challenging perceptions, they're used to taking on anybody in the classroom.
Elmwood has quite an academic reputation. It has IB all the way through. So how do academics play into that idea of developing a whole girl and inspiring that leadership that you were just talking about?
Yeah, academics are really, really important to us. I'm not going to hide behind that. It's a key component of what we do. But my belief is anybody, any student can achieve academically. They can reach their full potential, providing they have the right support in the school. But academics, the girls are very competitive. They want to go to the best schools. In the classrooms, they want to achieve well. They want to do well. But that's a cultural thing. We have girls whose averages range, they're all across the map, and we love that. We love that kind of difference in ability. But at the end, what matters to me most is that each girl reaches and fulfills and goes above her potential. That's what's key to me, is that we're not exclusive in terms of academics. What we do is we take the girls when they arrive and we really push them and support them and care for them to be academically excellent. And I'm very proud of our academic achievements. On top of that, we really, really believe in the whole girl. So we have a very strong sports program and athletic program in the school. Our theatre program is certainly well known in not only Ottawa, but certainly in Ontario, as is our music program. Duke of Edinburgh is really important to us because it really stretches the girls and gets them to risk take. But our day-to-day values are about more than just academics. It's about, it's our values. It's respect. It's making sure that culture of family is alive and well. And the culture of supporting each other is there. But academics is one part of the prep. Schools are about developing the whole person. And this school is excellent at developing the whole girl. And it's just some of our girls recently going into some amazing rowing programs in the States. That's been new in the past few years. We're getting full rides into some universities in America. And we have a girl in New York studying theatre right now. And we have 50% of our girls in engineering and 30% in the arts. So we have a really strong, balanced approach to curriculum, but also the support. And the last thing I would say is our leadership program throughout the school is very deliberate and very strong. So when our girls come through Elmwood, we want them to be well-rounded in all of these areas because they're all important to their development.
So when you're looking at prospective students who are applying or even considering Elmwood as an option, is there a student that just wouldn't be the right fit for Elmwood or wouldn't thrive in the atmosphere and the environment that you create?
So I always say when I meet a student, so I meet all the girls that come through the school who are applying to go to the school, and I like to try and meet their families too. My first real thought is, do they want to come? So first and foremost, the girls have to want to come to Elmwood. Like, you can sense a mile away if they feel they're being forced into it by parents, or if they're taking a step that they don't want to do. Because if they come to the school and they're not wanting to be there, it's going to be difficult for them, because our girls really want to make friends with them. Our girls want them to be successful. Our girls want them to fit in. And if they don't want to be here, sometimes that's difficult for girls. But I would say, if we're talking about what girls will do well here, it's the girls that really buy into our values. I keep on going on about values because they're so important to us. So respectful girls are very, very important to us. Girls who believe in innovation, girls who like to collaborate, girls who take their responsibility as a learner really seriously, and also a responsibility as a citizen of the world really seriously. That's important to us. And integrity is something that we know that is not easily acquired straight away in life. It's something you learn and develop as you go through, but it's something we hold really importantly, is this idea of having integrity, being honest, telling the truth, as being like a mainstay of how you conduct yourself. But the school itself is, the reason it's so special as a school is because of those values, and it's things that we insist on, and it's the things that the girls buy into, and it's actually the things that they love.
And from a family's perspective, what are you seeing as a commonality or a common thread that link them in terms of what draws them to the school?
Yeah, 100%. It's about people who want to belong to a community. Like, it's people who want to be in this culture of a caring environment that's going to push their daughter to be academically excellent, that's going to develop their skills, not just in academics, but the whole girl skills. But really what we do see is those people who really respect things like the value of a family, that they respect. We're a small school, So you can see that parents want their daughter to be in that intimate environment where everyone knows everybody, everyone supports everybody. And sometimes that's tough when you're in a small school, when that you kind of like everyone knows what's going on in your world. But I would say a common thread for all our parents is that they really love the all girls, the idea of the all girls and like what it brings to their daughter and the advantages it will give, but also the feeling of family we have and that community aspect I know all independent schools have that. But having been and seen a lot of independent schools, it's something very, very unique to anything I've seen in the world here.
And how do you like to approach resolving conflicts between students?
Yeah, I mean, they happen all the time. I mean, conflicts are good. So first of all, I believe that the conflicts are good. They're healthy. They're part of life. Everyone goes through them. And if you try and make them to be something that is abnormal or strange or horribly wrong, then that's where you're going to get more conflict. So the way we deal with conflict is we have a conflict resolution process, is that we also believe in forgiveness. So this idea that we're going to make mistakes and ultimately we have to forgive people in our lives and move on. But if there is conflict, we very much want the girls to resolve that conflict, either through mediation, so support from a teacher or a professional, or through their own tools. So we teach them, we have a leadership and learning course in the school where the girls do it earlier, and they learn about conflict and how to try and resolve it themselves. But sometimes the conflict is too big for them to deal with. And so we then go through a clear process with professionals and teachers in the school that help them get through that conflict. But the most important thing is that at the end, that normality resumes, so that the girls don't build resentment to each other, but they are encouraged to talk to each other and to work past the problems they've had. It could also be a conflict with a teacher that they have. And again, it's the same process. We make sure that that conflict is resolved and that the girls and the adults or the people move forward in it. The key thing is that you move forward with conflict, that it doesn't linger, it doesn't get forgotten, or it doesn't get ignored. Because the very worst thing you can do is ignore something, because it just festers and gets worse. So we deliberately make sure that the girls approach it, deal with it, talk about it, and continuously reflect on it. So it doesn't just finish when we say it's done, we'll move on next day. We come back and talk about it again to make sure that the girls are comfortable and happy with where they're at and that they're moving forward in a positive way. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes people hold on to things for a long time, and we all do as adults and as kids, and it's difficult. But I think if you hide it and ignore it, it becomes problematic.
And along similar lines, if there's a conflict between the school and parents, if there's a miscommunication or just maybe a lost in translation kind of situation, how are those conflicts resolved?
We pick up the phone. So my first thing is that emails, everything gets lost in interpretation in emails. Emails are good for quick information giving, but as soon as any conflict or there's any sort of tension arises, we call the parents in, or we'll pick up the phone and talk to them. I believe communication is key to everything, but I also believe that communication face-to-face or voice-to-voice is most important, because often conflict increases exponentially through email. And you can be the best emailer in the world, but people translate things differently. So what we do when conflicts do arise, and they do arise in every school, parents and the school sometimes come into these situations. We talk to them face to face. We make sure we have respectful conversations. We follow our values, and we make sure that the parents are heard. I can't remember many cases when the parents' interpretation of an event has been wrong. They've often got a reason to be unhappy or a reason to be upset about something. It's about finding out what that is and fixing it, and then rebuilding the relationship. The same with kids. I believe that their perspective is key. If they feel that they're upset by something, there's a reason for that. And it's important to understand that so we can tackle it and move forward. If you just feel that you're right all the time as a school, then I think that's problematic, particularly when we're surrounded by people who are very bright, who are very interested in their daughter's learning, and they have a perspective which is really valid.
And what are the lines of communication that are open, without there needing to be a conflict that you need to address, but just in terms of keeping families up to date in terms of what's going on at the school, how their kids are doing, and also, is there an expectation of parental involvement in school life? Are there any things that they also need to commit to when they're bringing their child to Elmwood?
That's a good question. So we communicate weekly with our families as a general communication tool. So newsletters, weekly updates. We have a remote learning system that the students use for all of their classes, and the parents have access to that too. So a lot of communication goes to parents that way. Teachers communicate with the parents all the time about their daughter's progress and how they're doing. And we have monthly reach outs as well. We also have surveys that parents can fill in to let us know how we're doing. But can you repeat your last question? Because that was the one I wanted to focus on.
Is there an expectation of parental involvement in school life?
So our expectation is that that they belong to our community. So sometimes in a family's life, they're just really busy, and so they can't get to events, or they can't contribute, they can't volunteer, or they can't go on that field trip, or whatever it is. So we respect that entirely. The big thing is that they belong to our community, which means that they treat people with respect, they communicate well with us, and that they're interested in their daughter's education. That's the main thing for us, is that they completely buy into their daughter's learning and their life at the school. Beyond that, we have a very, very healthy parents association who volunteer and work at the school, and anyone's welcome to come and join in on that. We have events that our parents lead. We have gala and stuff like that, which is all parent led. But it's not an expectation that you must do that. As a parent myself, I don't have the time to do some of those sort of things. But some parents do, and some parents are very giving. So no, there is no one expectation besides they must be involved in the life and the learning of their daughter.
And can you talk about the financial aid that you have available?
Yeah, we change it every year depending on the year, but we have a significant financial aid budget, which we give so as students apply, we review applications and we give financial aid that way. Sometimes students will apply needing a full ride scholarship to the school, and we do that occasionally, but typically we would give up to half of a student's fee in terms of a scholarship or support. That way, we have two things. We have bursaries and scholarships. So scholarships are awarded to students who are academically excellent on entrance and internal applications. And then we have bursaries for those families who need some financial support to access a school. The figure changes annually depending on the need. So this year it's been more than it has in previous years. Just so we've had a higher application pool from families who may need more support. But it's something that we value. It's something that is part of our annual campaign that we fundraise for, is to make sure that the girls who live up to our values can access our education.
And if Elmwood was a person, what personality traits would it have?
Okay, so our founder, Theodora Philpott, said that she wanted girls to be strong, companionable, joyous, and free. So for me, that sums it up perfectly. If you're going to sum up girls, joyous is so important to me, is that they love where they are, because if they don't, they won't learn. And it's so important they spend most of their life somewhere that they're joyous. Companionable, I love that, the sense of community, togetherness, family, and free is that they are starting their journey to becoming adults in this world that are going to make a real impact. I love what our founder said, and I loved her vision and ambition for the school. And I think that's what really does describe our school really quite well right now.
And when you think about the next 5 or 10 years for Elmwood, say, your daughter who's in grade 2 now, new students who are just joining in those early years, what changes are coming to Elmwood? What can they expect to see throughout their academic journey there?
Yeah, so I would say that innovation is huge for us. We've done a lot of work as a school over the past 5 years on innovation. So I can't tell you what's going to happen in 5 years, but what I can tell you is our girls will be prepared for it. So they will have the skills, they'll have the attitudes and the approaches to be able to tackle any changes that come that way. I don't believe we're ever going to lose some of the values that a school has, like coming together as a community to learn in person. I hope not anyway. Being away from each other for a period of time just reinforced how important social connections are. I think that technology is going to play an increasing role in the delivery of education and support and the tools we use. So I think that something that we've done is we've really pushed technology right down lower in the school. Now we're pre-K to grade 12. So even our pre-K students are being introduced to technology, and I don't want it to be pervasive. I don't want it to occupy everything, but I do want them to have the skills to be able to use technology effectively. So I think technology is going to have a huge part in the future, as it already does. And we're an Apple distinguished school, so we already buy into that. But I think that the way things are delivered will use more technology. But I do think that as a school, so long as our pedagogy keeps innovating and keeps changing, keeps the needs of the girls at its heart, and we keep developing and like producing a system where girls can really be confident and be leaders and be academically excellent, whatever that looks like in 5 or 10 years, then we'll have done our job. I don't buy into this idea that what schools are here for is going to change massively. I think schools are here to help young people grow and be ready for the next step in their journey. And what that looks like in the school will change. So timetables might change, sure, that will probably be thrown up in the air and change completely over the next few years. But as long as we stick to teaching girls skills and attitudes and values, and we keep developing the whole girl and those things, then they'll be ready for the next step in their journey, which is what we're here for, is to make sure that they're ready and prepared to tackle their next steps.
And what's your advice for families and students who are looking at their options now?
I would say, number one, make sure that that the school you choose is a school that cares for your daughter. I'm saying daughter because we're a girls' school. Make sure that the school knows what it is that will help push your daughter to be successful. And I would say look for a school that is going to make her happy. Most of all, then the decisions people make, they sometimes make it for the wrong reasons. We are all of the things that you want. We're an academic school. We have great sports teams. We have amazing co-curriculars. We have a great leadership program. But all of that won't mean anything unless your daughter is happy. So for me, it's making sure that you pick a place that aligns with your values, that as you walk around and look at the girls, you can see your daughter at the place and see them smiling. Because if they're not smiling, then everything else we have won't work. So being happy and being comfortable where you are is so, so important. So that's what I would say.